All right. Welcome to Master the Game. I am Juice, and today's guest is DM Sarah, an author from the DM's Guild. So, Sarah, I'm not sure how much my audience knows who you are, so why don't you introduce yourself?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm DM Sarah. I'm the DM Sarah with underscores between the things on Twitter. I'm also a professional dungeon master, which means that is my job. I I do that for a living, and an author on DM's Guild. You can find my stuff on there under Dungeons and Gin, like the genie, not the drink. And I'm also a recurring star on FCRD's Star Trek Perseverance show.
That's
That's
awesome.
that's everything I got going on right now.
You're pretty busy.
I'm pretty busy. I sometimes forget some things.
So, the thing that stands out to me, I mean, obviously the Star Trek thing is pretty cool. But the thing that really stands out to me that I think comes up a lot in our community, on YouTube at least, is the professional dungeon master, the paid DMing thing. And I'm sure you've seen blog posts and you've heard the
Oh yeah,
good and the bad with it. So
everyone has a hot take.
exactly, and this goes. I mean, my familiarity with the topic goes back to like 2012 when most of it was negative. However, it seems like things have come around to be more positive. So with that, when did you start and how was it received among people?
So I started about 2 years ago, and I think I've been really lucky. Like when I first entered my radar as something that I could actually do, I kind of looked into it a little bit just to see like, do people? And I definitely saw some of that negative feedback and people saying, that's not what D&D is about. Why would I pay someone? Yada yada. But once I started actually doing it, I ended up finding sort of a pool of clients for whom that is actually really, really important for them. Like, and it's usually not the same. Obviously, it's not the people who think that it's dilutes the game or something. It's I found that a lot of people were people who weren't necessarily finding games in other avenues. So, like just had a kid, they have 3 hours a week and they don't live in like a city. So finding people locally is hard and they need the consistent downtime in the 3 hours a week they get without their newborn. Like, or, just moved, don't have a lot of like people in the area, still want to play D&D. Like people come to it with all different kinds of life situations, but for them it fills that void, and they're friends now. Like that's fun. It's a really fun way to build a community and make a living
Mhm.
through telling stories.
So how do you find these people? Do you have like a Patreon that people search out? Like how do you pick up these new customers?
So Roll20 is actually has a really good looking for game feature if you're willing to maintain it. So I use that primarily. And what I've found is that once people try pro DMing, they come back to it because it's just so nice to have someone there who is a good DM. That's something that can be hard to find, especially online.
Mhm.
And the consistency, I think, is the other really, really big piece. I mean, we
Right.
always hear about how hard it is to get a gaming group together. If it's my job, I'm showing up every week. I'm showing up prepared. I've got notes. I've got session prep. Like, I can't drop the ball. And I
Right.
think people really, really value that. So honestly, now I find most of my clients from people I've DM'd for before, which is a great space to be in.
That's awesome. How many games do you run and how many people are usually in them?
Right now, I am running 3 games, and then I'm a player in a stream, so that puts me at 4. And I don't really want to go above 3 or 4 games a week. I did 5 for a little while, all DMing, and that was a lot. And that at that point, it stops being fun. It starts being more of a job, and I don't want to get into that. But I think the sweet spot's really about 3 to 4, and each game has between 4 and 6 players. I
Nice.
don't go under 3 because it stops being a productive use of my time for the amount of prep I get put into a session. And I don't go above 6 because it is chaos, especially online.
Right. Yeah, I'm running 3 games right now. Not playing in any, and I'm sometimes I get things mixed up between the three, and it's like,
I had
and
to
only
play
one
the
of them's
same
weekly.
module too.
Oh no, that's not
That
that's
was really hard.
what module is that?
I had 2 groups doing Tomb of Annihilation for a
Oh,
while. And it's like, wait, did you do that or did the other group do that? It's a
right.
mess. So Now I have to do different modules. I can't do duplicates. Oh, and I did 2 Dragon Heists at one point, but that was better.
Yeah. So do you typically run modules, or do you do your homebrew? What do you do?
I typically run modules because people are more willing, they're more excited to play them with someone that they may not know.
Right.
At homebrew is a lot of trust in your DM, and that's something that is built. It's not just materialized through a Roll20 post. But if someone's like, oh, I've always wanted to play Storm King's Thunder and I haven't gotten a chance to yet.
Gotcha.
This is a way for them to do that.
That makes sense. There's some people who they take that video game mentality of completionist and they want to finish all the modules. My wife's like that. She wants to play through all my modules, and I'm like, I don't run modules, so
yeah.
I'm running one module right now because she really wanted me to, and that's Descent into Avernus. And nice. I struggle with it a little. I when I run modules or anything inside of a setting, I have a hard time adding my own flair to it because I feel like I'm down the road in the module. There's something I've misread. I'm going to mess something up. You know, it's so silly to do. And I know it's silly. Like, I can't get out of that headspace. So I always prefer homebrew. And I cherry pick things from modules.
Oh, yeah.
So, but yeah, I get it. Like I said, my wife's really into wanting to do that. She's running Tomb of Annihilation for one of our groups. But we're not playing right now because of COVID. It's a family in-person thing. And online's not really a possibility because it's 2 households and then trying to, like, we would have to set up 2 separate computers because we would probably talk over each other. And then the delay with the other household of 3 people might not work out well.
Yeah. So, it gets tricky for sure.
Yeah. And I can't help them with the tech stuff. So, you know. But yeah, no, I enjoy playing modules or homebrew. It doesn't matter to me. But yeah, I just can't run them for some reason. I try, and I do okay. You know, I'm probably better at running those than my homebrew.
It takes a little practice. Yeah. And I think some trust in the module writers that they have your back and that it'll work out down the line.
Right.
So now I'm a lot more comfortable with it than I was.
Yeah. So one of the things that actually got me excited is when I was looking at your DM's Guild stuff, the 100 random encounters non-combat stuff for different things. So I haven't downloaded any of these yet. I looked at them. I've been waiting on it because I have 2 laptops. And nice. I'm planning on downloading it on my old laptop because that's where I keep my RPG files. And these look really exciting because I prep all my random encounters. You know, like I'll roll all of it outside a game, prep it, and then I'll even roll then, hey, when they're traveling possibly from here to here, are they going to encounter this, whatever. And so that's how I do it. So it's not really random. It's random. Yeah, it's random. So I plan on cherry picking quite a bit out of here.
Go for it.
Your first one that you ever wrote, though, what was the process for you?
So
and what made you start?
I was in a really slow patch at work. And it was getting to the point where I was like, I will be needed to do a lot of things soon, but not right now. And I'm bored out of my mind. And I keep asking people for work and they keep getting kind of annoyed that I'm asking them for work because that makes more work for them.
Yep.
So, okay. And I just started thinking about like something I could put on DM's Guild, specifically because my laptop had just fried its hard drive and I needed it's like $700 to get a new one pretty quick. I had it in savings, but like I needed to fill that hole in my savings pretty quick. So I started brainstorming, and I think combat encounters are tricky because you have to balance them by the party's level, which will change over the session. So they're hard to just drop in there. And if you're playing in person or on a virtual tabletop, you have to have tokens or miniatures, or, if you're a battle map player, suddenly that's a thing. That's not something you just throw together really easily. So I kind of put these in as like, oh no, my party's decided to go to this totally different town. I haven't prepped anything for this town. I need stall.
Right.
Non-combat random encounter, you hear some crying from a child crying in the riverbank. Okay, part of yours is going to go investigate that. And you kind of spitball it and like let them drive a scene.
Right.
Well, you figure out what's going to happen next. So, and then I discovered that I really enjoyed writing them. They were really well received on DM's Guild. So I wrote, gosh, I don't even know how many of them. I've got a lot.
Yeah, it looks like some of them are pretty popular.
Yeah, some of them have done really, really well. I mean, they've all been downloaded as pay what you want, like thousands of times, which is what?
That's the other thing that stands out, because not a lot of people put their stuff up as pay what you want, which I appreciate. So I typically, when I do stuff, I'll download it, and I usually put in 0. But if something has like a nice amount of usage in my games, I'll go back and I'll throw in a couple bucks.
Yeah.
Or support them on Patreon or whatever. So that's kind of cool. What made you go with the pay what you want method?
So in part, I wasn't really known in the community at the time. I'd been running pro games for about a year, but I hadn't gone beyond like my little Discord server. Right. So I wasn't a known figure. There was no reason that people should take a gamble on it. Also, there are 2 pages of stuff that I've brainstormed over a few days at work. If people want to support me, that's great, but I really wanted to get my name out there and make it an option. So I figured pay what you want. The one thing that isn't pay what you want on there is a full adventure, which I did for to benefit Raíces. So because that's a charity module, and I got some artists in on that and some map makers in on it. And it's like a finished product.
Yeah,
that's not pay what you want, because how would you do a pay what you want charity title? It doesn't make sense.
Right.
And if I've got another longer project in the works, and that will likely also not be pay what you want, but for the little stuff, it's fun.
Yeah.
If you like it and it's useful for you, chuck me a couple bucks. But I want you to use it.
So when you started doing this and you started loving it, did you decide you're always probably going to publish for yourself, or do you have like aspirations to do freelance work for other companies or anything maybe full time for another company?
Probably not full time. I'm pursuing a PhD in the fall, so I think that's going to eat up a lot of my writing time. And you'll notice I haven't published anything on DM's Guild recently because I was doing applications and then negotiating financial aid. And so, so I expect that the rate at which I can write and produce will slow down a little bit once I go into a PhD program and I'm writing a lot academically.
Yeah.
I would be open to freelancing with an established company. I've worked on a couple of anthologies which are forthcoming. But I don't think I aspire to do it full time, in part because I want to teach full time. I want academia to be my full time position. And also, like, I've done the math on like pro DMing stuff about how much I would have to do this full time. And it's
a job.
It's to the point where it wouldn't be fun. Like if I'm DMing 30 hours a week, that's not fun. That's work. And I don't want to ever lose the joy in the hobby. So
I hear you. So speaking of the joy of the hobby, how long have you been playing RPGs?
I think it's 9 years now. I got started, it would have been like 2015. Oh God. Yeah. No, longer, high school. 2011, 9 years. I know how old I am. Wait, what year did I go to high school again? Yeah, we started on 3.5. The guy I was dating in high school was really into it. He played with like his mom and his friends, and like they had a whole group going. And he knew I was in fantasy, so I got suckered in. And 3.5 is not beginner friendly.
No.
But I pulled it out. And then when 5e came out, I was like, oh, this is something I can actually thrive on and I can get new people involved in. And I found it much more of an accessible edition.
Yeah.
So I've stuck with that.
Did you ever dabble in Pathfinder or anything?
I didn't. I think that's mostly because the tables that I were at are playing. I mean, I never had an inclination to pick up another system while I was playing 3.5 because there's too much 3.5.
Yeah.
Yeah. With 5e, I feel like I get what I need from the niche with 5e. So when I look at other RPGs, I'm looking for things that do what D&D doesn't. Like
that makes
completely
sense.
Different. So something like Star Trek Adventures, like Mouse Guard, or, you know, stuff that does like I Hunt, like totally different story.
Right. So actually, it was funny. I heard Star Trek, their RPG. I heard people can't stream that. Do you know if that's true?
I mean,
I heard they were like going and
streaming
getting
it, so-
cease and desist letters or something.
So there, I think, are a couple of different Star Trek role-playing systems.
Mm-hmm.
Star Trek Adventures by Modiphius RPG.
Yeah.
I mean, we stream it, so I'm assuming it's fine.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't know anything about it. I just heard people talking about it. Actually, today on Nerdarchy, they were talking about it.
Huh.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know. They may have some kind of proprietary ownership of their content that they, because I know they did give us the books as sort of a sponsorship. So
Gotcha.
They may have something proprietary.
Yeah, it sounds like the cease and desist doesn't come from the RPG company. It comes from the Star Trek side of it. Like the big actual intellectual property owners, not the ones licensing it.
Well, but surely a Star Trek role-playing game would get permission from Star Trek.
Yeah, like I said, I don't know. They were talking about it on Nerdarchy today.
Yeah,
which by the time this airs would have been probably a couple weeks ago.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I'm not sure.
Well, that's good to hear that it's not a problem. So you've played Star Trek and D&D. What other systems then have you been interested in that probably fulfill some other kind of need for you?
I played a game of Mouse Guard on a charity stream, which I really, really loved. I haven't had a chance. I mostly play D&D just because that's where my clients are. Mm-hmm. You know, it's really hard to fill a game of a different system.
Yeah.
Probably could do it with Pathfinder, but again, I'm happy with D&D. So that was really fun. As someone who was a big fan of the Redwall series as a kid, like, oh, that just hit that niche perfect. It was great. I'm really, really itching to play Olivia Hill's I Hunt, which is on Drive-Thru RPG, and it's basically you play as gig workers hunting monsters through this app, I Hunt. And, you know, it's all the gig worker, you know, I gotta do my Postmates shift type.
Yeah.
Struggling millennial energy, but instead of delivering meals or, you know, driving Uber or whatever,
right,
killing monsters. And I love that. That's such a
cool.
Fun concept. It's like I really like the philosophies behind it. Like Olivia Hill's been known for her like anti-fascist. If you're a fascist, you can't play this game. Like, it's just a fun, like, kind of political statement, kind of the gas station owner is a vampire. Like,
it's almost relatable.
yeah. Like, it feels really appropriate for my generation, and I'm itching to play it. I haven't had a chance yet, but I'd really like to.
I had to make a note of that. At least look at it. That's interesting. Yeah, there's quite a few games out there. I mean, if there's something you can dream up, it's probably been made into an RPG. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
There's like if you're into very different RPGs that aren't necessarily D&D and aren't fantasy. Like Orcs Unlimited makes them on Twitter. He's got like Teddy Bear Island is one, and it's like, you know, imagine a kid's nightmares coming to life kind of thing. Like, that's so fun. Yeah, and then he's got like one that's like We Hunt Bugs, and it's, you know, literally you're like some soldiers that hunt bugs and stuff, I think. So
I feel like I saw that one.
That one I think
so
is
creative right now.
His nicest looking one from like a cover standpoint and things like that. But yeah, there's so many interesting games out there. I love that. So you're streaming. So you guys are streaming Star Trek. Is that the only game that is streamed that you play in or run or anything?
Currently, yes. I've been streaming Mass Effect just through like during quarantine, just myself, because I revealed to some of my players that I'd never played the series, and they were like, "Wait, I want to see your reactions to Mass Effect." And I was like, "I could stream it," and they're like, "Yeah." I'm like, I could stream. So I've been streaming that, and it's a ton of fun. I'm on to Mass Effect 2 now and having a great time, but that's very casual.
What system?
The FCRD is the official one.
Gotcha. What system are you streaming Mass Effect on?
I'm on Twitch there.
Gotcha.
Twitch.tv/DMSarah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Are you playing on like PlayStation, Xbox, computer?
PC. I'm a laptop girl.
Gotcha. Okay, that makes sense. I can't afford to have a gaming PC like that.
Honestly, I just abused the crap out of this little guy. It cost me like $750 used, but
Oh, wow.
it has the specs I need. I do video editing on it. I
Yeah.
stream on it. It gets really hot. It works.
I just bought this one last year, like in October, for like $1,000, and it had all the specs I needed to do my streaming. And I was like, all right, perfect, I'm doing it. And my a tech guy who's a player in one of my games was like, you got to get this one. This will be good. It's got a solid state drive, like all the works that you need.
Nice.
And so, yeah, I'm glad I did it. My old laptop does not have a solid state drive. It's decent, but it's not nearly as good as this. So
yeah, I don't think this thing has the big issue about this is the graphics card, honestly.
Yeah, that's kind of the downside on this one too. Like I could try to stream video games, but I don't know if I would want to really try. So I have a Intel Core i7. I don't know anything about this stuff, but
yeah,
supposedly it's a good one.
Yeah, i7's good.
Yeah.
Things start to suffer on i5s or lower, but i7 is all right.
Right.
But I can't run Red Dead Redemption 2 on this. I tried. Graphics card can't handle it, so someday.
Oh, that's a bummer.
Yeah, I was really sad. I was like, PC, I can play it, and I can't play it.
So, with your writing, is there any thought of ever consolidating it all into one big document as like a GM's aid book or something?
I could do. I would probably the most logical place to consolidate would be the non-combat encounters, because then you'd have them all in one place. But we could already download them all. Yeah. I think if I were
DM's Guild doesn't do print on demand either, so
yeah, I mean it does, but you have to like have a certain level of like clout, and it has to be a certain size, and I think it has to be like 150 pages or something to print on demand. I don't have nearly that level of content.
Gotcha.
So you can, I mean, these can be easily printed out on like double-sided if that's something that you want, like put in a binder, but
my printer's broken.
Oh no.
I know. It's a bummer.
Terrible thing during quarantine.
I know, so luckily I printed a while back a bunch of character sheets and everything I needed. Like I have my own stuff that I have like my own templates for GM prep that I use for myself. And so I already have a bunch of that stuff printed out, but there's been so many things since quarantine that I've been like, oh, I want to print this so bad.
I know. You know?
And I can't. Like my daughter wants to play D&D, so now I got to make her write stuff out, like on, not use my templates that I have online. I mean, she could use some of the character sheets I have, but for an 8-year-old, that's not as simple to
That's
navigate.
hard, yeah.
So that's all right, though. It's probably better that way. That's how I started back in the 90s. I didn't have character sheets. It was like loose leaf, notebook paper, here you go. Maybe a note card for your equipment and stuff.
That's a move, though.
Yeah.
Especially if you could like pass them between players. Like, yeah.
Yeah. So we actually are hoping to play this weekend, just her and I. I've had her play before. I've actually put it online too. And so this weekend, we're not sure if we're going to start fresh because it's been a long time, or try to port over her character to 5e, because before it was just like my own made up stuff. Like, you got 3 attacks. Don't worry about your hit points. I'll take care of that. Don't worry about any other stuff. Just roll the dice, I tell you.
That's the best way to do it with kids, though. My little brother is really into D&D, and so,
nice.
I'm designated like road trip entertainment now because, he's bored.
Right.
He can come up with 2 hours of story on the fly and roll this D20 when I say done.
So the high school boyfriend, I'm assuming he's not the boyfriend anymore.
Oh, Lord, no. He was
he a
friend? Terrible person.
Oh, no. I was going to say, you played...
because he was a great DM. But he was a terrible person.
I was gonna say you play D&D with like his mom and everything.
I know, yeah, no, it didn't. It was a bad time. We're not gonna get into that.
Well, hopefully you never have to run into him at like conventions and stuff and all that.
Unlikely, but I'm also basically living his dream life, so I think I won the breakup.
Well, I would say that's probably true.
That's my joke.
I won the breakup. I'm the one living his dream. But you still are pursuing yours, so that's good.
I mean, I end up, I'm doing the stuff that I really like, and I just happen to be a pro DM on the side.
So, of your content you've written, I know I'm a little all over the place, but
go for it.
Of your content you've written, what is your favorite one? Like your favorite product, your favorite individual PDF?
That's a really good question. Oh, that's a really good question. I
It's tough. I'm
think
sorry.
I had a lot of fun with. Well, I had a lot of fun with a lot. This is really, really hard. Um, can I say one that isn't out yet?
Yeah, of course.
Okay, then I'm going to use it as a chance to plug something that I am working on. So I've been working on a way to bring like reproductive health into D&D because a lot of people aren't really comfortable bringing sex into D&D, and that's fine. I also don't have it in my table.
Sure.
But when you have like no notion of like sex and reproduction, childbearing in your world at all, it ends up being kind of a flat world, and you end up with some kind of weird patriarchal undertones. Like, do adventurers who need birth control get birth control? Because like we know from what happened in the US in the 70s, the open access to birth control was a huge factor in women entering the workforce. So was it a huge factor in women adventuring? Like, there's fun world building questions there.
My
Plus,
wife
like,
would
everyone
love
wants
this.
to know how Dragonborn have sex. Like, no
Right.
one has a good answer for that. So I've been working on a guide that's, like, here's different races knowledge about, or like cultural expectations around like gender and sexuality and relationships. And then there's a section on, here's how you prevent birth control. Here are different like sexually transmitted diseases that you can use as a plot hook, especially if they're magical and are basically curses. Like, here's a background where if you're cleric, maybe their background is that they were a midwife. You can have a custom background as like that kind of stuff. So I've been working on that, and I'm having a lot of fun with it. I think it's some of the most thoughtful and the most creative world building that I've been doing. So
That's
that
fascinating.
I've just been working on it a ton, so it's on my head. But I think that's my favorite right now.
That's interesting. It's not something I would probably touch in my games, but I would be very interested in reading that. I'm sure my wife would be interested in checking that out too. It sounds like something, and I wouldn't touch it because I wouldn't want to like accidentally offend somebody. That's just how I am. I run a more PG game personally.
Yeah. It's definitely a with table consent kind of deal.
Yeah. However, I feel like a group of girls, for example, could totally, I mean, even a guy could be there, no problem with that. But like, I feel like a group of girls like could joke about certain things a little more loosely. And I think it would be better as a viewer, right? Like if I was watching it, I would probably enjoy that more than if it was like mostly guys and then like a girl at the table playing it. But that actually is very
It
fascinating.
requires a good group dynamic. But like, what
100%.
if the king has been cursed to be infertile?
Right.
Whoa, the line of succession is questioned.
Or it's all, no heir to the throne kind of stuff.
Yeah. And that's kind of like, I don't want to know like how things are happening. That's not something that I get into my table. And this is not a kink and D&D guide. I'm not writing that.
Yeah.
But this is like a, two PCs are now knocking boots. Should we maybe have some consequences for this? Is that something that you want to incorporate in your game?
So are you going to have like consequences for that? Like if, say, an adventurer gets pregnant or things like that, is that going to be in there?
I haven't decided if I want like specific rules for pregnancy. Like I have kind of broad, this is, like Dragonborn and orcs are not going to have the same pregnancy,
right?
Like ways of getting pregnant. They're not going to have the same like length of pregnancies. Like elves don't really have two sexes. Like that's not a like how if you have like that, because the whole Krell's blessing thing calls that into question. It's like a species wide thing. So I might get into like the whole like details, but I figure if childbearing is going to be and child rearing is going to be an important part of your campaign, usually it's going to be with a player character and either another player character or a really important NPC, and that's something that you're going to have to work out the nitty gritty of how much it's going to be on screen and the time it takes in game and all that. But this sort of gives some ideas about how it could happen.
Yeah, and unfortunately, I've played with a lot of groups in my days, especially in the last like 6 years, and most have been pretty tactful, right? But there's been a few. Like I ran Adventurers League for about 6 months one time, and that was a nightmare. And it's not because of Adventurers League. I don't blame them. I blame myself for being new to running Adventurers League and not knowing how to control what I allowed at my table. I had
a different skill set for sure.
Yeah, I had one guy who was using body parts as trophies that were probably not body parts that you would want to discuss at a table.
Oh no.
Yeah, it was stupid.
No.
Like, and he was just trying to push the envelope all the time.
Yeah.
So, yeah, but and I've had some other disruptive players too in that setting, but he stood out as like the top. And so, like, whenever I think of, oh, would I want this at my table? I try to think, how could it be abused before I worry about.
Oh yeah. This is there's. Don't put this at your table if that's the thing. Like, no. This is a guy you have to have trust if you're going to get into heavier materials, and you're not going to find it in the AL table.
I love it though. That sounds good. So, do you have a name picked out for the title?
I'll
take that as a no.
Do I have something on the PDF.
Gotcha.
But I think it's like something like Granny Wormwood's Guide to Reproductive Medicine in Faerun or something. And
I love it.
I've got all these little notes from Granny Wormwood about, kids these days, they never listen. Everyone wants to know how Dragonborn have sex. No respect for people's privacy, etc., etc.
I like the voice.
I just came up with it.
Well, that is now Granny Wormwood's voice.
Oh yeah, just sort of a crotchety grandmothery, but also like, if you're having an issue, this is like the person who will sort it out, like that kind of character. And she sort of narrates the volume and provides her commentary.
That's awesome. So when you're working on something, do you have other stuff you're working on at the same time?
Oh yeah.
Okay, so you're like
I'm
me.
Such a pantser.
Yeah, I jump around.
I've got stuff in. Yeah.
Is that why the shorter PDFs work well for you? Like doing like 2 pages?
Yes.
Okay. That makes complete sense.
You know how many long projects I have that are like, I'll finish that eventually. Yeah. I get to them. I like cycle through them, but if they're short, they get out the door way faster.
Yeah. I started working on my own system. I mean, I've always kind of came up with ideas, but really started working on one like a couple months ago. Well, actually it was last year when I really sat down on it. However, I started editing another friend's system and I was like, oh, I got to get back on mine. And so in like 6 sittings since then, because I have to force myself to sit and work on just that, I've gotten like 52 pages. It's awful. It's awful. I'm not doing this to release. I'm doing it just for myself to say I did something. But
still, that's incredible. That's so much.
It's a lot. Most of it's not good content. Most of it's like placeholders for content.
That's the first draft. It's fine.
Yeah, so I'm having fun with it. And when I get a good couple pages written, I always feel really accomplished. But I have like another project of like my homebrew world where I have a binder over here with all of my old notes. It's like this thick. And then I'm trying to like organize it, and I'm struggling with that. And I forget about it for a couple months and come back to it. That one I've been working on for 5 years or something.
Sometimes you have more like fresh creative thought when you drop something and come back to it. Usually when I'm beating my head against a wall, the content isn't coming out good. So if I drop it, go do something else. Yeah. Come back, it goes a little smoother.
Have you always enjoyed writing, or?
Yeah, I mean, like, it's never been something that I was like, this is my passion. It was just like, I'm gonna do it. I really enjoy challenging myself. I've done National Novel Writing Month a couple of times, and obviously I write a lot academically, so that's another world of writing altogether, though. That's a totally different style and everything, but it's something that comes fairly naturally to me, so I just kind of crank it out and get it done, and then
that makes sense.
I don't edit much either, which is also really bad, but
yeah, I know how that goes. I write my blog posts, don't edit, and I put them up, and and then later I'm like, oh gosh, I missed that.
I'm always so glad when I get reviews. There's a couple of reviews on DM Guild where it's like, I haven't found any spelling errors. The grammar's really great. I'm like, cool.
That's because you're good at it. I'm not good at it.
I've just been doing it a lot. So practice.
That's cool. So do you run homebrew stuff for clients when you're a professional DM?
I'm working on something so usually what happens is it's module with homebrew elements. Gotcha. So, I'm working on Tyranny of Dragons right now, and that has a lot of homebrew, in part because the module is kind of skinny in terms of what it provides for you. But also because my players really wanted to run a level 1 to 20, and currently the only option is Mad Mage, and it's fine, but it's a dungeon crawl for 20 levels. So so I'm working on homebrewing a bunch of stuff, which I can't talk about in case they watch this video. Uh, but
Hopefully they do.
expanding on things like backstories and character concepts, like just bringing in some plot threads so that there's something to get to 20.
Yeah.
I just started a module based around the Lost City of Mesro AL PDF. That was one of the freebies on D&D's Play From Home.
Yeah, I think it's like one of their encounters or what expedition.
Yeah, they've got a full 1 through 16. It's really a 5 through 16, but they've got like padded content in there. Yeah. So I'm homebrewing that together with Tomb of Annihilation, because there's a lot of good stuff in Tomb of Annihilation that gets missed in the ticking clock pressure of the Death Curse.
Yeah.
You know, I've run it twice now. I don't think I've never gone to like Hrakamar, or like I've never really done anything with the pirates, or you know, there's so much.
I don't think I played it twice, and I haven't beat it either time, but we never got there.
It's really hard. That last dungeon breaks some people.
Yeah. Well, it was funny. So obviously, I've looked through the books and stuff before I ever played it and things like that. And I'm good at not bringing meta into it, but I remember hearing about a specific trap that is basically just you're dead no matter what. Like one trap in particular, it's like a sand trap or something.
Is it the chest?
I don't remember. I think it like the floor opens up and you get grinded in between the sand and these spinning spikes or something.
There's a couple in there.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of stuff that's brutal, but that one stands out.
Oh yeah, there's another like, if you do this, you're dead, no save trap in Mad Mage, which I won't say where it is because spoilers, but yeah.
Some of the NPCs you come across that you don't realize how strong they are, and
or who
they actually are. And, yeah,
it's a mean module. I love it.
It's got a lot of cool stuff, and depending on your DM, there's a lot of flexibility with it that you can take it. So yeah, it's one of their better ones, I think. You know,
it really is. I mean, I wish they'd given Chult more of a like history and a little bit more like agency for the people. Like that's got some unfortunate implications, but the structure of the module is really good. The lore is lacking, but that's what I do. I fix lore. So
and some of the puzzles are pretty ridiculous.
Some of them are kind of obnoxious, but there's one in Omu that is incredible. Which I won't give spoils.
Yeah, don't spoil.
They vary in quality, I think.
I will say I did solve one because I was a Dragonborn and had to do with a crocodile, and I made a really ridiculous statement, and my group said I was stupid, and I was like, yeah, I know, I was just joking, and then later found out I was right.
That it was right?
Yeah, and then we should have done it the whole time, and we didn't do it at all. So. But it felt so obvious to me.
Sometimes the obvious solution is the best one.
Right. Even if it's ridiculous. So yeah, I'm trying to think. Star Trek. So how long have you guys been playing that?
We've streamed, I think, 6 or 8 weeks now.
Oh, okay.
We had kind of a rough start with. This was right at the beginning of quarantine, so like. The Zoom update totally broke ops for like a little while, which was terrible. And then we had a cast member have to drop out due to personal reasons. So we had to find cast replacement. Yeah. But yeah, I think it's been like 6 straight weeks and it's really fun. I've gotten really into Star Trek in part because of this, but now I'm like actually into it, like really invested. So it's been great. I really enjoy it.
So before you played that, you weren't really into Star Trek though?
I'd seen the new movies and I like it's the kind of content that I always knew like, yeah, I will like this. Yeah. But I mean, there's so much. Mm-hmm. I mean, where do you start? So I started with Deep Space Nine because like I'd seen a little bit of Babylon 5 and I was like, all right, similar concept, I can get into this. Yeah. And just absolutely hooked from like midway through the first season on. So I'm coming up on the end of that and watching.
Do you have a favorite character?
Oh yeah, Odo is my boy, and I love him so much. He's absurd. He's great. Yes, love him.
So I was never growing up. I was not much of a sci-fi fan. I didn't like Star Wars. Didn't like Star Trek. I know it's weird. It's really weird, right?
That's
And
weird.
as an adult, I don't know when it exactly changed, and I don't know why I didn't like it either. I think I don't know. I loved Indiana Jones as a kid, but as an adult, something happened, and then I started liking Star Wars. The funny thing is I actually like all the movies, right? And I believe one of the first ones I was like, yeah, I really like it. I think it was one of the prequels.
Huh.
So, because I liked Darth Maul, because I'm really drawn to like bad guys in most movies and stuff. And then I was like, yeah, these are all great. And now like we own all of them. I've got my kids watching them. You know, Rogue One's my favorite of all the Star Wars movies.
So we got there eventually.
Yeah, oh yeah, yeah. And like we finally watched the last one because we never saw it in theaters because we can never get a babysitter for all three kids. So we finally just watched it on Disney Plus. Love Mandalorian.
Oh my god,
Yeah.
so good.
But Star Trek isn't one of those things where I definitely know I was bored by these shows as a kid, right? Because they're always on the ship. It just as a kid there wasn't, in my mind, a lot of excitement. And I haven't gone back and
action.
yeah, I haven't gone back and watched it. However, the movies, the new ones, I've loved those. Like they're so well done.
They're really good, and they're just a great introduction to, for people like me who are like, yeah, I know Star Trek, but I've never, like, they were absolutely, like, I had a great time, and I think people who have been loving the series for years had all a great time as well. And like, what more can you possibly ask for a reboot?
Right. Yeah, and I feel like I need to go watch those shows. I have a friend who was telling me like what order I needed to watch all the series in. And don't worry, once I watch it in this order, I will not stop. I'll watch every single one. And I'm like, I actually believe him. Like now that I'm an adult, like,
I could see that. I mean, I'm already thinking about what I'm going to watch next. So
yeah. So, you know, and I've heard, you know, Deep Space Nine, it depends on who you talk to, but like I've heard that's the best one, depending on who you know.
It depends on what you like. Deep Space Nine apparently has the best like long plot arcs.
Okay.
If you're more of a like sci-fi monster of the week person,
Gotcha.
You might get kind of dragged down in the politicking and
As if we're not tired of politics already.
And baby stuff. Oh yeah, there's a couple of episodes that I'm like, too real, too prescient. I don't like this.
Right. That's funny. So do you watch or listen to any other podcasts or streams or anything of live plays?
I don't watch a ton.
Okay.
And there's a couple of reasons for that. One is that so podcasts are right out because they really mess with my head. I struggle to like process audio well when it's just audio. Like I can't do audiobooks. Podcasts are a bear. So podcasts are right out. And in terms of streams, it's mostly just like I already play D&D or a tabletop game 4 days a week.
Mm-hmm.
The other 3 nights, I kind of want to be hanging out with my friends and with my partner and like living my life in ways that aren't necessarily this hobby. So it's mostly a saturation thing.
Completely understand.
I'm very diligent because it's my job. I'm like, we gotta have boundaries.
Yeah, no, so I'm a nerd about all things, right? Like I love wrestling, I love sports, like I'm all over the place. You know, and video games, which I never play today because my kids take over the game system all the time, you know. And if they're not, my wife's playing my Dragon Age games, you know. So I don't get into the video games.
Relatable though, Dragon Age is life.
Oh yeah, I've loved those games. I will. So I bought the first one. Oh gosh, I don't know. Back when it was Game of the Year edition, like I bought it as soon as it became Game of the Year. And I got home and I played it for a night, and the next day my wife took over, and I did not see that game until she beat it. Then I was able to beat it. And then it was funny though, because I like to play like the human fighter, you know, like that's just, I'm boring. She's like, nope, I'm going to be a rogue elf, you know, Dalish elf and do it that way. And, you know, and then me, I'm like, okay, well I beat it this way. I want to try the other things. She'll be like, I beat it this way. I'm going to play a Dalish elf again. Like, she's just, you know, and yeah, I don't get into the romancing even in those. I know that's like a huge topic for people.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Like I'm in the Dragon Age groups. Yeah. I'm in those groups, you know. But like Inquisition, like Cassandra was my girl, you know. Just had to.
The fact
I
that
don't
you cannot romance her as a woman breaks my heart.
know. Right?
Oh my god.
And then I accidentally romanced Dorian on Inquisition. Luckily, I broke up with him and then went to Cassandra. This is on my current playthrough. The first time I had no problem; it was just Cassandra. But yeah, Dorian's funny. Iron Bull would be. I haven't done Iron Bull, but I think my wife did Iron Bull on this current playthrough. It's great.
You gotta ride the bull at least once.
Right. It's such a good. The whole series. Even like I hated the Fade in the first one.
Oh god, yeah.
And then
the Fade hurts.
Yeah, and then the second game. I never got the pirate girl. I don't know how I didn't
Isabella,
get her. Yeah, I never got her, which I'm disappointed about. However, I don't want to play through that one again.
See, that's my like problematic baby. I love that one.
Mm-hmm.
I think because I had no idea what was going to happen. Somehow I got like 2 years after it came out. I had no idea what the plot was.
Oh, no.
Oh, yeah. So I came into that last scene totally blind. And like, I don't think there's been like a scene in a video game that has impacted me quite that way because I spent so long like,
yeah.
Oh, ooh, it's so good.
See, that's me with Final Fantasy VII. Like when I first got that game, I was 12 years old. So, already my hormones and everything are all whack. And then I'm playing through the game and not going to ruin it, but there's a spot where something happens and I cried like a baby about it. And because on that one, I don't know about the new one, but you can name your characters. So like Cloud was named after me, and the girl I had a crush on was named after this other, like all the girls are named after girls I had crushes on and stuff, and it just happened to be that was my favorite crush.
Oh no!
All sorts of stuff. Yeah, so it was fun for a 12-year-old.
Oh my
But that's my favorite game of all time for sure. And then Dragon Age, probably right up behind it. So, yeah, good games.
Never quite got into Final Fantasy, but that's another like investment thing. Like I'm sure I'd love it, but there's a lot.
Yeah, and then each game's different. Like you gotta be careful because even some of the later ones aren't not that they're not well done, but like you can see the shortcomings. Like I played 15, I think it was, just like a year or two ago. I got it for $20, and then I had heard the reviews kind of were bad. And I was like, yeah, but $20 and it looks cool.
Yeah, why not?
But it feels like two games that they fused together, and it sounds like they were making it one way and changed their mind halfway through it, and you can tell, definitely.
Yeah.
So, which is too bad because it's actually the first half of it I actually like more than the second half, but the second half is where the story is, and normally I like the story, but it's all railroaded at the end. So, yeah. What are your favorite type of video games?
I'm a single person RPG person, like all the way. I'm not good enough for like multiplayers by and large. I'm all about the story, and honestly, like or like resource management, like sim games. Those are also like RimWorld. Ooh, great game. I was really into Zoo Tycoon as a kid, like that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I played that at a friend's house all the time. I used to go over there just to play that game.
Right? I did too. They loaned me the disc, and both myself and my mom played it so much, trying to get the Golden Panda and Zoo Tycoon 2 before we had to give the disc back, and we didn't do it, and we were so mad.
Oh,
it was a time. But by and large, the games that I really love are the single player RPGs. Mm-hmm. The ones where you can go through the story and really create your own narrative for it. Yes.
What any specific ones that stand out?
Honestly, Dragon Age has my heart. Like that was really, really cool. Also, not really in that category, but I just finished Doki Doki Literature Club for the first time. Like,
never heard of that one.
Okay. Don't read anything about it. And people who are watching, if you've played it, you'll know why. If you haven't, don't read anything about it. It's free to play on Steam. Go download it and play it. It'll take you like 4 hours. Doki Doki Literature Club. It's going to look like it's very kid-friendly. It is not. It is really intense. The content warnings are not kidding. Play it.
I wrote that down. That's funny. You said it's only like a 4-hour game?
It's short, yeah. It took me like 4 hours to play through. Yeah, play it.
I will have to do that. I'm right now just getting my kids into like Nintendo games. And like,
do not show this to your kids.
Oh no, I won't. And like Super Nintendo
express
games.
That enough.
Yeah, they made me get them set up today. Actually, my son's like, I want to try Mario. I was like, okay, and he's 5, so he's been playing like the Lego games on Xbox, and so he's decent at those, and my daughter's good at those. But you don't die. Like when you die, you just lose some coins and respawn right there. And so I put in Mario today. And they're like falling in the first hole or running into the Goomba guys or whatever. Like constantly. My daughter finally beat the level after like an hour. The first level. God. And she's screaming, I got to the castle. It was so funny. So
they'll learn.
I usually let her level grind for me. Like I went back and played what was it? Dragon Quest? Dragon Warrior? I always mess the name up. But there's spots in that game where you have to level grind. There's no way about it. You just have to go back and forth to get to a certain level before you can move on to the next part. And so I've had her play that part for me before. Because it's like, don't worry, I'll go to this easier part and you can just run back and forth.
You just outsourced the grinding.
Yeah, exactly. And she thinks she's having a good time. I did it with Final Fantasy VII because I rebought that on Xbox. And I let her level grind for me there just for the heck of it. Because I was like, yeah, just have some fun.
That's hilarious.
Yeah, and they like games. And they get excited. They're like, I want to play Final Fantasy VII. It's like, okay. So, well, I think that covers everything I had in mind. I'm glad you came on today. Is there anything you would like to, mention before we go or promote?
Yeah, I mean, you can see me on Mondays at 6 p.m. Eastern on FCRD's channel. We're twitch.tv/ST_perseverance. You can find me on Twitter at _DM_Sarah. I've got a lot of underscores and things. And you can hit up my D&M's Guild work at bit.ly/DungeonsandGin. Again, genie, not drink. It's alliteration. It works a lot better when it was written out, and I didn't think of that when I came up with it. That is me. That is where I'm at. And
so obviously you said earlier your games are full for professional DMing. However,
I've got a space in one, but I think it'll be filled by the time this airs. So.
Right. So what if somebody does, though, in the future want you to be their DM? Is there a way they can reach out to you? What do you prefer?
Probably the best way, if you've got a group together and you're looking for someone to run something, is to reach out to me via Twitter. I've thought about making a website, but I'm not sure that's worth the domain fee for how frequently myself I have openings. But yeah, if you have an interest in playing a game with me, reach out to me on Twitter. I also can do this for a birthday party. Once social distancing is over, I can do it in person if you're local to the DC area. I can also do corporate team building events. It's a really, really fun way to build camaraderie within your office and build skills that are really essential to the modern workforce, like communication and empathy and problem solving and using people's skills. Those are all things that are built through tabletop role-playing games, and I would love to do that for your office. So awesome. You can also hit me up on Twitter about that.
And you said you're in the Washington, D.C. area?
That's correct.
Excellent. Awesome. Well, thank you again. And thank you guys for watching. If this is your first time here, be sure to hit subscribe and give us a like. And we will see you guys next time. Game on.